Welcome to the Fundraising Elevator, where we're all headed up. This podcast is a production of Swaim Strategies, a consulting firm dedicated to nonprofit fundraising events. We're coming to you today from the studios of the AV department. Please welcome our hosts, Kristen Steele and Samantha Swaim.
Hello, and welcome to the Fundraising Elevator, where we're all headed up. Today, we're going to talk about some easy solutions. We're going to talk about resources to be able to continue to move generosity when you are just out of time. We are going to talk about travel and fun and joy and how to move that generous giving back into your organization with our guest here, Elizabeth West from Sojourn Ventures. Let me do a quick introduction and then we'll jump into the conversation. So Elizabeth West got her start with Sojourn Ventures over 10 years ago when she stepped in to help her in-laws, the Sojourn Venture founders, Stacy and Rob, to stay on top of their emails from nonprofits and travelers. And what started as a small favor quickly turned into something much bigger. With an entrepreneurial mindset, she was inspired by the company's impeccable service and the idea of creating trips that help fund causes that truly matter. Over the past decade, Elizabeth helped to grow Sojourn Ventures into what it is today, a family and women-owned Pacific Northwest company that creates incredible travel experiences that help nonprofits raise funds in a meaningful way. Now, as president, she's focused on building partnerships, growing the business, and ensuring every trip feels special for travelers, making a lasting impact. Elizabeth, welcome to the show. We're glad you're here.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here today.
Well, I want to know a little bit about the origin story of Sojourn Ventures. So before we dive into things like consignment packages and what that means, just tell us about who you are as a company.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. We have such a unique story because Rob and Stacy, they were street artists in San Francisco and have always had a unique lifestyle.
I didn't know that part.
I didn't know they were street artists.
I love that.
They were both slinging jewelry on the street with their little street artist licenses. And so they met that way. And then they had moved up to Portland to start a family and opened a furniture store in the 90s over on Northwest 23rd. And Stacy had studied abroad in Florence, and she had wanted to take her kids to Italy to live a year, put them in Italian school, and just totally turn their world upside down. And so she did that with Rob, and they ended up purchasing their first home, Casa San Marco, which is a 500-year-old home that they renovated and restored. And when they had their store in Northwest Portland, they had put a sign in the window that they had this house for rent, and their school had mentioned, we saw the sign, is there any way you can donate this to our art program? We really need to raise funds. And Stacy's an artist, and she's like, do whatever you want with it, go for it. And so they ended up selling it for $10,000. And she was blown away. Rob was blown away. They were like, we got to do this really cool thing for our kids' school. Yeah. And it really just inspired Sojourn Ventures to start from there because they saw they had this really great asset that they could help their community. Yep. And so from there, they had Casa San Marco. They started building relationships in Cortona that they had made when they lived there for that year and with different owners. And we started offering homes for consignment. And with that, Rob he fell in love with Bali in the 90s, and he had met this really sweet Balinese man named Wayan. He was on the beach playing guitar, and they became really great friends. And he was like, hey, I want to have a house here. How do I do that? Because he just was free spirit. And so he built what's now Villa Paradiso, which is our 8-person, 4-bedroom villa. And he built that for himself. And then he realized, people want to go to Bali. He didn't know it was on the map. And so with that, they started offering that as well as a consignment option. And we just built the company from there with really trying to focus on these authentic experiences that were meaningful to Stacy and Rob. So, and then just over the years, we've just been building on that.
So nonprofits often think about auction items as a transaction. Yeah. Right? You bring something or they get something donated, someone buys it, done. Right? Mm-hmm. But you see it differently. Yeah. And I'm wondering if you can talk through the consignment model and why that can change things for an organization.
Yeah. I think it's such an incredible tool. I didn't even know this existed until I started doing it, that It was something that could really elevate a fundraiser.
Yeah.
A lot of times in the years I've been talking to nonprofits, they'll have the same package donated year after year. And that's amazing. And donors want to go on those trips, but then maybe those donors want to go somewhere else. And so it's really an opportunity to expand your offering, raise money for your cause, while also having this no risk consignment model, which is really, really great because organizations can take all of our materials, they can promote the package, they can add it literally the day before the event. Sometimes we have folks that are like, we need a last minute item. And we're like, here you go.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we have organizations right now that are experiencing real restrictions in their capacity. As fundraising has been evolving and as organizations have been going through a lot of staff evolution, all of a sudden, like, fundraisers aren't just loaded with time. And we also don't have individuals or volunteers that are showing up and giving in large capacity in the same way. I mean, when we first started doing fundraising events, I think we had volunteer committees that were working a year out on events.
Wow.
And now it feels to me like volunteer committees have really started to pare down, aren't as involved, aren't as engaged. So getting those items is hard. It's interesting because we were talking yesterday before the recording about the consignment model is a model that I haven't really been a fan of for a long time, because oftentimes consignment with different companies has been a gap filler of off season, or, sort of here's a unbooked travel that a hotel is offering or something like that. And I'm like, but if we can get all that donated, why would we also have a cost associated? And my perspective on this really changed because, one, what you guys were doing is really different than that. It's homes. You have an origin story that is rooted in giving. It's very nonprofit centric. But you remove the risk and assure an experience that I think is a continuation of the relationship with the donor. And now that organizations are so short-staffed, it feels to me like that is important. So I'm wondering if you can talk about that sort of no risk. Like, what does that mean? A lot of folks haven't ever heard of consignment and haven't used consignment before. So, they're immediately thinking my budget can't afford a $1,500 trip or a $3,000 trip. So what does it mean when we say no risk?
Yeah, that's such a good question because you see that all the time in the consignment world. It's no risk. And what's really great is these packages are designed to literally be no risk. So you can put them in your auction. With Sojourn, we vet all of our packages. We make sure that we are offering a high quality experience. And I think what's really special about it being risk-free is that you also have this service that comes with it. So your team, your volunteers are not answering emails about how to get trains, how to book airfare. I mean, you wouldn't imagine, some people, this is their trip of a lifetime. This is their trip, and they've never traveled abroad. And so that support to me is what really supports the trips being so special, but also supporting that risk-free model of knowing that you can add this to your event. There's no cost up front. And if it does sell, you've raised money for your organization and you've also engaged with your donors in a way that maybe you haven't before. So
I'm in the brain of the planner for a second, and I want to talk to them specifically because in the planning process, I immediately think, well, of course it's a risk if I put it in my auction, right? But the agreement field with you all is that there is a set price. I set that for my auctioneer as reserve, right? Yeah. So if this is a $2,000 package, I tell my auctioneer we can't sell it below $2,000. But the tricky thing is what the auctioneer does on the other end with that, which is a like promotion for why you need a benefit auctioneer that knows how this works. But oftentimes, if we are working on selling a package and the bid pedals are going up and the bids are happening around the room, all of a sudden you've hit a threshold of $1,800 and it's not hitting $2,000. The auctioneer will sell it to themselves, a number in the back of the room that no one sees, and just say sold and move on. And no longer is there an obligation to Sojourn Ventures. But if I say the minimum threshold is $2,000, but I want to sell it at $3,000 or higher, so I know I have revenue coming in, that auctioneer is working toward that number. And once they pass it, they also have the benefit of being able to sell it multiple times.
Absolutely.
And so that to me is where the magic moment happens, that let's say my auctioneer got the $2,000 trip up to, what was that initial package, $10,000 that you sold Casa San Marco for? So my $2,000 just became an $8,000 revenue. I can't get that in another auction package. So being able to tell the auctioneer, sell it again, every auction comes down to two bidders, right? And so it's so easy to turn to that other last bidder and say, would you also like it at this price? And that is just like, your revenue just went through the roof. And I can't do that when it's been donated, right? When it's a package that is like a gift basket that includes all this wine, I can't just magically create another gift basket, right? So this idea that this incredible opportunity, I can put it in my catalog and tell my auctioneer, do not go below this amount because that's the cost to me. Or in fact, I need to make sure I'm making a profit. Don't sell it below this amount. But then I can double it, triple it. Your Bali trip is the reason why I first started working with you all.
Really?
Was that we had an organization that specifically was looking for a warm weather destination, and for the life of them could not get it donated. They had a lot of snowbird traveling older folks that they were like, we need a warm destination. And we got introduced to Stacy and Rob, and I connected with Rob, and he was like, we've got Bali, absolutely. And we sold it that night 8 times.
Wow.
And I think in total for that organization raised almost $100,000 selling that package.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's where all of a sudden it opens new doors, it removes risk, but it really like creates a whole new world of opportunity, which is dreamy.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, specifically with Sojourn and the places you've put together, they are driven by internal passion about these places.
Yeah.
And so there's a level of curation that's happening that feels different than insert Mexico destination here, right? That is not to belittle Mexico or its destinations, which I love. But I think you can feel that curation in the package itself when it's being presented to donors that can have that kind of return.
Absolutely.
You all have helped raise over $200 million for nonprofits.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And also all the feels. Like I look at that number and that's huge.
Yeah, it's a huge accomplishment.
It's huge. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And congratulations to all those nonprofits and just that amplification of work. Yeah. When you look at events where travel packages really performed well, what do you think the common thread was?
Yeah, I think, the runway up to the event, seeing those packages promoted on social media, I think does so well, especially now in these days, seeing that people get so excited to show up that night and bid. I think really integrating the story into their story of what the organization is doing is always going to engage people. But then when they have this great lineup of auction items that are different and exciting and appeal to maybe every other person in the room, they're going to get excited. And I think what we really do well is we create promotional materials that really tell a story, and they're curated. Because most of our experiences are, well, I should say all of our experiences are boutique and they are personally curated by us, they're special. I mean, they're special to me because it's my family, but we put our heart into that when we're presenting that. And I think people feel that when they see that at an event. And that's always something we get great feedback is people say, oh, I looked at that video and it really took me there and it made me want to go to Tuscany and drink wine and, bicycle through the hills. So I think that's
and that's helpful for our fundraisers and knowing like, I don't have to know this thing. Yeah. You all are creating the materials I get to utilize and you really know this thing, right? I don't have to, that's work off my plate. I can let the folks speak the story of the place that they know, which is really fantastic.
I want to go back to your social media comment though, because I'm like, oh, interesting. So you do create a lot of materials that can be shared in advance, but you have another little hidden resource that I don't know that you know, which is that oftentimes when I'm prepping an organization for their auction, if I have a destination that is, let's say, for example, that someone donated their timeshare and it is at the Maya Riviera Resort and here is the information about it, if I put that on social media, people can pre-shop it and set a ceiling for themselves. I can't do that with your packages because they're private homes. They're boutique experiences. It's not like I can type in VRBO, Casa San Marcos, and find, Stacy's house. It is a unique, totally unique experience, both in the place that you've curated so thoughtfully, but also the experiences that come with it. Where if I do that kind of social media promotion on a lot of other packages, it actually dampens the bidding. So you have another hidden secret there.
That's such good feedback. And I think what's so fun that I hear all the time from donors that go to Bali specifically, because it is a resort, our Golden Buddha property, and everyone there is someone who won the package at an event. So people go there and they become friends for life because they have similar mindsets a lot of times.
Oh, that's fascinating.
That is fascinating.
So it's always great to hear what we always send surveys after trips and yeah, we met Martha who's, she lives in Seattle and now we're going fishing this summer. And, it is
I love that.
Really a great thing that we can offer without just it being what it is. It is just Golden Buddha.
I love that so much because, that idea of we bring people together in an event for lots of reasons, but one of those reasons is because people want to have a sense of connection to other people that believe in the same mission. And so that idea that you can also then go on your trip and find other people who have done a similar activity of raising a paddle and giving generously and meet other generous humans in the world and make that connection. Golden Buddha is unique in that it is multiple villas in one little tiny resort that's very curated. But what a special, cool additional benefit.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to go travel with you a little bit. I want to specifically travel through your process. So if an organization is looking at a Sojourn package, I want to know a little bit about from the time they reach out to you all the way to the time that someone goes to Bali or goes to Cortona. What is the experience of Sojourn Venture?
Yeah, so we really, really try to get to know our partners, our nonprofit partners. So when we're talking to them on the phone, we're saying, what has done well in your events? Where are you seeing that price point, right? I'm not going to tell you to sell put a $5,000 package in your event when you've never sold a $5,000 package, because a school is going to have such a different audience than a ballet, per se.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we really, really try to see, okay, what resonates with your donors? Is there anyone that's saying they want X trip, right, that we have? And really spending that time to make sure that we fit. A lot of times too, organizations will reach out and they say, we want that Escape for Two package. We know Italy or Bali is going to be great. Give us everything. And so what we do is once the package is selected and we've spent that time really figuring out what works, we'll send all the materials over, we'll get everything set up, and it's pretty easy for everyone. They just take it, they put it in their catalog, their social media, whatever they're doing to promote that package that night. And then after the event, we get the outreach that says, hey, Joe won the trip, or maybe 5 Joes won the trip. And they will send them a welcome email within 3 business days. So we really try to keep the excitement, right? After the event, they've won the trip. They want to have something in their hands.
When are we going?
And so we'll connect them with our wonderful team. We have two great women on our team who reach out. We send a text message just in case, email spam world. And once they're connected, they have 2 or 3 years to travel depending on the package. And so
which is very generous in the land of consignment to underscore, which is in terms of fostering relationships, that's an interesting piece as well.
Yeah. Well, and it's so fun because we get to know these donors for sometimes 3 years. And with COVID, it was 4.5 years. So and then once folks, they ask anything under the sun, and we get them all set up. We have personal teams in Bali, in Italy, in Spain. So if they need anything extra, we get that all organized for them. And then usually they're in the holding pattern until they travel. And when they get to, I'll use Cortona as an example, they're greeted at the door with our team who, if they need luggage assistance, anything, we'll help them with that. They walk them through the house, show them how, turn the lights on, all the things that are a little different when you're traveling internationally. And then, we set them on their way. And if they have experiences that they've booked, our team helps them with that. And they'll meet them in the piazza with the car and they'll go wine tasting for the day. And so I think what makes it so special is that they get that personal connection on the ground. Yeah. You're not just going to a house somewhere. There is someone there to support you. And that's been a really good.
Yeah.
Well, and that's been my experience with you all the way through the process. From the very first package I booked with Rob, it was like, bidder, meet Rob. He's the owner. Ask him whatever questions you want. And Rob was like, I'll tell you everything, And so I think you've continued that legacy and have continued to carry that through and have created something that's different than what a lot of other consignment companies offer. So we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, I want to talk to you about kind of your unique value proposition. So We'll be right back with Elizabeth West.
Ready to take your fundraising to the next level? Need to get unstuck in your event planning? Now's your chance to connect directly with the experts behind the Fundraising Elevator. Book a one-on-one consulting session with Sam for strategic planning and fundraising strategy, with Kristen for your programming and storytelling, or Mary for your registration and data tools. They're here to provide you personalized answers to all your event questions. Don't wait. Raise more at your next fundraising event. Book your session today at swaimstrategies.com. You can also find the link in our show notes.
Welcome back. We are here with Elizabeth West, and we are talking about consignment travel. It feels weird to even sort of put you all in the same container as all consignment travel. I think when we say that, people go, oh my gosh, that's so far out of price range for us, for our crowd, for what that is. Can you talk a little bit about the range of price point for you all in terms of packages for costs for the nonprofit?
Absolutely. Because we own our property in Bali, we've kept the price almost to this. I think we've raised it $300 in 7 years.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And so our prices, we actually are releasing a package soon that's 7 nights in Italy for $1,595. But we really start at $1,950 is a really that's our most popular package. And then we do have some luxury packages that go up to $8,000 or $9,000. And we don't see those go out the door a ton, but there is the client for it.
Totally.
And so, that $1,950 has been a really great entry point for a lot of nonprofits to be able to have an accessible package.
Yeah. Well, and I sold that $1,950 package, or the Bali package in particular that you haven't raised the price point on, which is incredible to me. But I've sold that multiple times at 3 or 4 times the cost of it. Yeah. So I think that, trying to understand that investment upfront gets a little sort of, for a nonprofit who's always like, what do we do? It's donor dollars. But the return and the benefit, I think, is huge.
Absolutely.
And is, on the other end, I think sometimes it is a concern for the nonprofit to think about the volume of time managing, like, okay, donor gave a vacation property. So now I'm managing the relationship to that donor, and donor bought the vacation property. And if they have a conflict, what do we do? Right.
Yeah.
So there's always sort of that element of time investment. And you used the word earlier, a partnership. Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you a little bit about what that looks like. So if you're meeting a nonprofit for the first time, what do you want them to know about working with you all?
Yeah, I think partnership is so important because we're in it together, and we wouldn't exist without our nonprofits and our and donors that are supporting the causes. And I think we really want to be a resource. And so, for our trips to be successful, our nonprofits have to be successful, right? And donors have to be happy with what they're getting. And so we really always try to go the extra mile. There's always times when things happen and folks either, like we had an example this last week where somebody just, they decided they didn't want the package after they bought it, and they'd already booked their travel and everything. And so we were just like, no, we'll refund you. We'll take care of you.
Wow.
We've worked with them for 5 years. And it's like, we care so much about who we work with. It's so much more than just like turning a profit, turning a trip around. We want our nonprofits to be successful. And so being partners in the success of that is our main goal at Sojourn.
Well, you were a partner to us a lot during COVID, and you mentioned COVID earlier. And I want to ask you, sort of, travel feels tricky right now, right? Like the world is crazy and the news is crazy. And, you know, you may have a trip booked or a vacation booked and then be like, oh my God, the headlines make me want to change my plans. How have you responded to those crisis moments where suddenly it feels unsafe to travel or not possible to travel?
Yeah. I mean, with COVID, right, there was nothing anyone could do. We couldn't even sell trips because no one could travel to Italy or Bali. And so we extended all of our expirations. I think our last COVID trip just happened last year.
Oh my gosh.
So we were 5 years into it. We were able to do that because we own Casa San Marco. We were like, great, just go to our house. And same now, right? We have folks that are scared. Maybe those Bali flights are flying through the Middle East. They can't do that. And so we're rebooking people to a later date when it feels safer. The great thing is they have 3 years. So, hopefully in the next couple years, things will feel a little different.
Yeah. What are some of the favorite trips you all offer?
Oh my gosh, that's such a hard
question. And this is where I start taking notes for the trips I want to take.
My favorite, I have such a soft spot for Cortona. The people we work with there are just incredible and the culture is so special. And so I really, really love Cortona, but I also love Bali. And a lot of it, again, is the people and the authentic connections we make, not just because we work there, but because we go there, right? And we spend time with these people and you fall in love with having dinner with the nonas and like the wine tasting we do. It's just this sweet woman that has an enoteca in the town center. And every time I see her, she's like, Elizabeth, come have some wine. And I don't drink. So I'm like, I'll have some bread. And, we hang out and it's just having that authentic connection. So I love those 2 trips, of course, but right now as well, Puglia. Stacy and I developed that package and I love the ocean and the water is crystal clear blue. And it has been such a great package because a lot of people, when we started offering it, they were like, what's Puglia? What is that? And I'm like, just trust me. And people have gone and they love it. And it's magic. It's just such a special place.
Well, you just said adding packages. That's something you've been doing a lot of. So we've been talking about Italy and Bali because those are your like foundation routes, but you have so many other locations. In fact, just yesterday as we were preparing to chat with you, I went to the website and I was like, oh my gosh, they have 4 new Bali locations and they've added Spain and France. And so talk to me a little bit about like what's next and how do you choose what you're adding?
Yeah, so we're so unique in this way because we're a family. And so we'll be like, okay, if we wanted to go somewhere right now, where would it be? And how could we make a package? Because for us, we want people to experience things that we want to experience, which is maybe not the package that you see everywhere. It's something a little more unique. So I really want to go to the south of France. We went to Aix-en-Provence for Christmas and Stacy and I were like, maybe we need to do something. And she's actually living in Paris now. So got to get her to work over there.
Well, I noticed you added Ypernay, which we've been to Ypernay and fell in love with the area. We happened to be there the time that the Tour de France was coming through, so we were able to see all the cyclists come through.
Oh, fun.
But it was the wildest experience to pull on a train into this little town just like 45 minutes away from Paris, right? Yeah. And pull into this little town, and then all of a sudden you're like navigating little streets, and then there's this like amazing cobblestone boulevard of champagne houses with all the big mansions. And so when I saw you added Ypernay, I was like, oh, maybe we need to go to Ypernay.
Don't we always need to go to Ypernay?
Yeah, always. But I love that you're adding, so from a personal perspective of like, what is the experience we want to have?
Yeah.
Because it does, you can feel that.
It translates. It absolutely does. We've talked a little bit about the support that you provide during the process of, donor buy purchases through to going on the trip. Can folks buy your packages directly and offer it up as a benefit to their staff members?
Yeah, so it's not something we've done a ton or promoted, but it's something that happens, and as long as the organization, it's, okay with them, we do that from time to time, and that's totally okay with us. We want folks to experience it.
Well, and yesterday we were talking.
And what a front row seat for donors, right? For an organization to understand what they're offering donors and what that can be in terms of cultivation.
Well, we were talking a lot about employee benefits, and that idea of retaining good employees oftentimes requires really amazing benefit packages. And yet healthcare is just rising so much, and there's so many variables that offering something like this, like time for yourself and time of care, and being able to get access at the nonprofit rate versus buying it in an auction for more. But you also mentioned that you've been collaborating with some organizations recently about their members having access as well.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's something that's been new, is where folks have talked about adding our packages into their memberships. And that's something we've been looking at that I think could be really beneficial for the organizations that want to use that. So we're excited to see how that goes and try that. So,
we've used consignment in raffles. We've used consignment in auctions. We've talked a lot about kind of that live auction scenario. And then now you're talking member benefits. But the other way that we have recently really gravitated toward consignment has been when an organization is looking for a new revenue stream, a different revenue stream. The move of auction platforms to also have online auctions has almost offered us that Amazon shopping experience for donors, where separate from the event, we don't have to have an event in order to have an online auction that becomes kind of its own campaign. But oftentimes I find that organizations are looking to fill a gap on an emergency, and being able to pull together let's go to all the sunny places. We're going to pull together the south of France. We're going to pull together Sicily. We're going to pull together the blue waters of Puglia. We're going to pull together Bali and put those all into a experience auction that people can be sent via email and bid on. I think has been something we've started to adopt a lot since COVID, is that it's almost its own new revenue source. So we love being able to access consignment for all of these different reasons, not just for the paddle raise moment, which is great too.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to ask Elizabeth to step into the fundraising elevator with us. We'll be right back.
Change. It doesn't happen on its own. It happens on purpose. Thanks to nonprofits that believe a brighter future is not just possible, but needed and deserved, and that connect people to causes and turn moments of generosity into movements. That's why Bloomerang is built for purpose, to raise the bar on what's possible and help every act of giving lead to more. Because when the bottom line is a better world, no goal is too lofty. Bloomerang, built for purpose.
Welcome back. We are here with Elizabeth West of Sojourn Ventures, and we are talking about consignment travel and all the amazing locations that they have to offer. We ask every guest to step into the fundraising elevator with us, where we're all headed up. What is that parting tip or words of wisdom you would have for our nonprofit superheroes out there so that they can keep heading up?
Yeah, I would say, the world can feel really dark at times, and especially right now. And in this world that I get to be in, there's so much love and generosity and kindness that is still out there. And I think just really focusing on the good you're doing in the world and holding on to that little bit of light, even if it doesn't always feel like we're moving things forward. And just sharing your story, because people want to be part of something greater than themselves. Yeah. And we all have that opportunity to do that. So I would say that's my...
I love it.
Love it.
I think so good.
I think so often we're afraid to ask. And yet I think right now we all need to be a part of the solution. And so I love it's great advice. If folks are interested in finding you, one of the things I always recommend to folks is get your catalog. So how do people find Sojourn Ventures and request a catalog?
Yeah, they can just go on our website. We have a request pricing password. And once you do that, we'll send you an email with our password. You can peruse and set up a time to talk with either myself or my colleague Elise or Jill, and we'll take care of you from there. But you can have access to everything once you go on our website.
Well, it's a small team, but you're mighty. We love working with Elise and Jill, and they advised us that you had a special offer to share. So for a limited time, Sojourn Ventures Travel is offering $500 off any travel package booked for an event between June 10th and July 31st of 2026. To take advantage of this offer, visit Sojourn Ventures contact page, submit your information, and select I'd like to access your catalog and pricing, and note Fundraising Elevator podcast in the How Did You Hear About Sojourn Ventures section. That way you can get access to the $500 off. The Sojourn team looks forward to helping you to create an unforgettable experience that elevates your fundraising results. Elizabeth, you're creating something really amazing. We love it. I feel like you're offering nonprofits sort of an easy button where nonprofits need an easy button right now. And the experience that you can cultivate for the donors is just tremendous. So thank you for all that you're doing to grow Sojourn Ventures, and thank you for supporting nonprofits in this way and for being with us today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We appreciate y'all very much.
The Fundraising Elevator is produced by Swaim Strategies at the studios of the AV department. The program is produced and directed by Steve Osborne, with audio engineering and original music by Dwayne Anderson and Heidi Christensen. Video production by John Collier. Graphic design by Pendulum Creative Group. And voiceover by Josh Boykin.
Hey y'all, it's Kristen. Before we leave, I want to ask for your help to make the podcast grow. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please like, follow, and subscribe to the Fundraising Elevator. And if you're getting a lot out of the show, share it with a friend. Leave us a review. These things help make sure that the podcast continues heading up. Thanks so much for being here and tuning in.
Are you ready to engage supporters and grow your base with your own podcast? Then let us introduce you to our partners at the AV department in Portland, Oregon. In addition to delivering exceptional live event audiovisual production and videography, they also have a top-tier production studio and an expert team ready to take your content ideas to the next level. Contact the AV department to schedule a consultation and start bringing your podcast vision to life.